Hey, it's been a while, and this is my third attempt at this video. I wasn't happy with the other results, and I had to wait for some books to get here because it was short, and I felt like I could do a better job. I'm still waiting on some books, but this will be a good video on White Horse Beach and strange lightning phenomena in Plymouth, Massachusetts. So, the ghost of White Horse Beach. I always grew up with this story, that there was a woman in white, possibly a woman in a wedding dress, that would walk the beach at the stroke of midnight, and you could go and see her. And I thought this was a real thing, pretty much all my life. And this is why there's not much to this video. It turns out it's actually fiction. Or is it? But supposedly it's only fiction. So in 1890, a reverend named Timothy Otis Paine wrote a poem called Helen of White Horse. And this is where the ghost story originates from. Now, some people connect it to an event in the 1700s of a sinking of a ship called the General Arnold. But there's no evidence that the poem and that event are actually connected, as far as I could find. And there's no evidence that there's an actual ghost. However, if you have had any experiences with a ghost of any sort on White Horse Beach, let me know. I'd be interested. So the poem, I'm only going to read you a portion of it. It's not that spooky. The end is a little spooky. But the beginning, it's just a lot of description of the beach. And he really struggles to put his words in an order for them to rhyme, I found. So it's kind of a clunky poem, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. So I'm only going to read you part of it. So the story, though, is that there was this young woman named Helen, and it's the late 1700s, and her father forbids her to get married to this sailor that she has fallen in love with. I'm not sure why. Maybe he doesn't think a sailor is good enough for her. But he forbids her from seeing him. However, she sneaks out in the night. After Roland, her sailor, has sailed off, and she rides away on a white horse off into the waves because she's so heartbroken. I guess because he sailed away, and because her father doesn't want her to have anything to do with him. I don't know. But that's where our story comes from. So when I was a kid, I actually had family that lived at White Horse Beach, and we would sometimes, when I slept over, would go out onto the beach at midnight and look for the ghost, which we never saw. Although once we went out, it was wintertime, and it was snowing, so everything looked white. And we're like, there's a white horse, there's a white woman. I think it was just the snow, though. I never saw Helen. I don't believe I saw Helen. Alright, so I'm going to give you a little taste of the poem, which you can find online if you want to read the whole thing. It's called Helen of White Horse by Reverend Timothy Otis Paine. And then I'm going to tell you some more stories, some more strange stories.
The 24th of August dawns. 'Twas young in ages long agone, and Helen's love was young and strong, and life is love, and love is long. Young Roland must to sea again, and meets his bride Helen in the glen. His jaunty cap and sailor dress, his bearing high, his manliness, were much to lose and sail from shore. Poor Helen thinks forevermore, and she must bear her father's pride, her own loved Roland far awide. She warns her father yet again that he will grieve, but warns in vain. The night shuts down and it is dark. The midnight comes, the parents hark. They listened once before tonight, and thought they heard before were right. Her bed had not been occupied, the father could not find the bride. The white horse was not in stall, the saddle bridle gone and all. He hurries shouting to the beach, the white horse swims her out of reach. Come back, my daughter, loud he cries, I will no more oppose, but dies. The cry upon the sounding sea, the white horse moves out steadily, and Helen never more returns, nor beacon light for Roland burns. Where Beehive Cottage stands beside the road that leads down to the tide, but out to sea a massive block has long been called the White Horse Rock. The horse that trusted Helen's hand fled here and saw no more the land. But love will let no love die, and oft in all these years gone by, upon her steed and late at evening, Pride Helen on this rock is seen, looking for Roland through the mist, until he joins her, keeping tryst.
So that was our poem for today. I hope you enjoyed it. But in more recent history, White Horse Beach has had some strange goings on, which I found a little story in this book right here. It's called True Tales and Curious Legends, Dramatic Stories from the Yankee Past by Edward Rowe Snow. And this book, I think it was written in the 60s, early 70s. It has a little anecdote about White Horse Beach, which is a little unusual. Okay, so he has to say, on August 28th, 1959, at 3:50 in the afternoon, Joseph Tully, 43, and his two children, Susan, 7, and Thomas, 9, were in the vicinity of an overturned dory at White Horse Beach in Plymouth. Tully was from Malden. There was not a cloud in the sky as Tully sat down on the overturned dory, while his children began to play in the sand. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck Tully, killing him instantly. Mr. Robert Sullivan of Fall River examined Tully's remains, and then turned his attention to the two children, whom he found uninjured. According to Deputy Chief Weldon Lavoy of Plymouth, there had been another lightning bolt out of the sky 3 years before. The Reverend Harold Johnson, 45, was working on the roof of his summer home at Island Pond, Plymouth, when at 1:45 in the afternoon he was fatally injured by this lightning bolt. Thunderbolt. Wouldn't it be a lightning bolt? Thunder's a sound. A friend in the vicinity was also hit, but he recovered. It's very, very spooky, really. Like, imagine you were one of those children and, like, there's not a cloud in the sky, it's a beautiful summer day, and you're just at the beach. It's not even where you live, you're just visiting the area, and out of nowhere, a lightning bolt strikes your father. That must have been traumatizing. I hope those kids ended up okay. That's kind of tragic. There's a lot of lightning bolts in Plymouth, striking religious people just out of nowhere, which is slightly ironic in a way. It happened way back in the past. On March 5th of 1899, as reported in the paper, the unusual occurrence of a thunderstorm in March was sadly emphasized by the death by lightning of William H. Hoxie, who was struck down while ringing the bell of the Congregational Church in Chiltonville. Mr. Hoxie was 68 years old and a brother of Nate Hoxie, the well-known sportsman's guide. The lightning badly wrecked the tower and the front part of the church, but fortunately did not set it to fire. But it's really unfortunate for Mr. Hoxie. That's crazy. You're just there at church to ring the bell and the lightning hits you. That's a beautiful church, by the way. It really is a classic New England church. Or Mr. Hoxley. I mean, at least he was doing something he loved. But there have been even stranger, it's just going to get stranger, lightning occurrences in Plymouth. Plymouth, Mass., July 21st. A severe squall with thunder and lightning went over the town at 1 p.m. One house was struck by lightning, taking the soles off the shoes of a woman's feet and affecting her mind. Brick from a new chimney being built for the Plymouth Cordage Works struck a workman on the head, and he is not expected to live. Chimneys were blown down and other damage was done. Yikes! How does it hit your house and take the soles of your shoes off. I can't imagine. Yeah, I would guess it would affect your mind. I wonder whatever happened to her. Like, was it a permanent, like, was she permanently affected by that? Or did she get over it? Like, I can't even imagine, though, getting struck by lightning. That would freak me out. But it hit this workman at Cordage Park, and they say Cordage Park is haunted, so maybe he is the ghost of one of the ghosts of Cordage Park. A lot of chimneys were damaged. That's from one storm. It's crazy. Okay, but the strangest lightning incident of them all, and I can't believe I've never heard of this. So, back in the past, sometimes they would print sensational things in the newspaper which weren't actually true, or they would stretch the truth. Journalism was a little different in the 1800s, early 1900s. So, I don't know how factual this is. This is just one newspaper reporting this. I would love to find out more about this incident. You'd think we would have heard about this, like it would be passed down in our town history, but I've never heard of this story before. Okay, so this is August 10th, 1910. And this is the article from the newspaper. Plymouth, stuck up with shower of glue. Massachusetts town has a strange experience. Plymouth was, this first paragraph, I have read this paragraph over and over. It is so strange. Tell me, it's worded weird. Plymouth was worse stuck up today by a freak rain than ever the landing of the Pilgrims caused it to be. What? I don't get that. For an hour, the skies rained glue. The sidewalks were covered with a glutinous substance, and walking was impossible until real water had been applied when the storm had ceased. The strange mess seemed to be composed of minute jellyfish. During the storm, the house of Mr. Charles Adams was struck by lightning, equally as freakish as the rain. Although it struck a bedstead and fired the bed, on which Adams' 3-year-old child was sleeping, the bolt did not in the least injure her. It apparently entered the house by the little girl's chamber, traveled all around the iron bedstead, and fired the bedding and paper padding under the carpet. The child was rescued, however, before the flames reached her. That is crazy. I wonder what house that was, if it's still around. Wow. Charles Adams. But jellyfish rain in Plymouth, I've never heard of that. I can't believe I've never heard of that. That's so interesting. I want to know more. Okay, and so this one's not that weird. I don't know why I printed it out, because when I went to reread it before making this video, I'm like, oh, that's actually not that strange. But I'll tell you anyways, because it's just kind of nice little history tidbit, I guess. So this is from August 1st, 1921, the Barre Daily Times. Rainfall so heavy it stilled the sea. And President Harding sailed through severe electrical storms as if nothing unusual was happening. Plymouth, Mass., August 1st. President Harding and his party on the yacht Mayflower, which was confusing. I guess maybe he named it Mayflower in honor of, because he was coming for the celebration. It was 1921, but it was kind of like this year. We're celebrating 1620, which would have been 2020, but we're celebrating it in 2021 instead. So maybe he named his yacht Mayflower because of that, or maybe it's just coincidence it's named Mayflower. I'm not sure why President Harding's yacht is named the Mayflower. That was a very long explanation. Okay, his yacht ran into a stormy experience off Block Island, Rhode Island, while on a cruise here last night. When the Mayflower docked today, it was learned that she had encountered a severe electrical storm. A thunderbolt crashed out of the sky, sending its impulses through the wireless apparatus of the presidential yacht. A spark of some length was thrown off, but the adjustment of the apparatus was such that the force of the bolt was absorbed without shock. The president, preparing his speech for today, did not know of it until he remarked later upon the extent of the downpour. The rainfall was so great that those aboard said it seemed to still the sea, and the Mayflower rode through the storm as smoothly as on a mill pond. But that's really interesting. It was like a crazy downpour, but it made the ocean really calm and still. And I wonder if when the lightning hit the wireless apparatus, if it sent a message out. What would lightning's message be? I'd like to know. Okay, so that's all my lightning stories and beach stories for you today. I really like these type of stories, so I'll be on the lookout for more. And there is another kind of literary, it's not a poem this time, it's an actual story. Spooky story about Plymouth and witches. But I want to do a really good job on the art, so I decided, Halloween is every day if you want it to be. And the video could come out at any time. It could come out in April, it could come out in July, it could come out next October. I just want to do a good job on that story. So whenever it's ready, it'll come out, and you can watch it then. Because spooky stories are good at any time. Alright, see you next time. Thanks for watching.
If you see this ghoul, play it cool.